Hey guys, it's Will at Third and Long. Today we are going to be breaking down the AP Poll Top 25 that just came out going into Week 5. There's a lot of teams here, so let's get started. Hit that like button and subscribe. Coming in at number 1, we have the Georgia Bulldogs. So Georgia is coming off of a pretty decent win versus UAB. I actually thought this was their best win because Carson Beck actually looked pretty good. But the running game still has to get going. They are still lacking there. But the defense continues to play well. They did give up 21 points, but they had a lot of turnover, so that's not the defense's fault. But Georgia comes in at 1. No one has played good enough to jump them, and they haven't done anything to fall. So they are just kind of staying where they were from the previous week. Coming in at number 2, it's still Michigan. So Michigan got a pretty good win versus Rutgers. However, Harbaugh's back. They need to get the offense right. They've been failing to get 35 points per game. So coming in 30 points, that's fine for now. But once you start playing teams that can move the ball and score, you will have to perform better. But they are staying at number 2. Coming in at number 3 is still the Texas Longhorns. So they stayed where they are. They are 4-0. They had a very good win versus Baylor. Baylor has a lot of problems. Texas continues to consistently play pretty decent. They should be getting better going into conference play. Baylor's not a bad team. They have an okay defense. Texas beat them bad, so they stay at number 3. Now, jumping Florida State, moving up into the number 4 spot, we have Ohio State. So they've been falling. They finally jumped back up. They got a really good win versus Notre Dame. So a top 3 game so far this year. So they have one of the better wins at this point of the year. They did move up 2 spots into number 4. I've been pretty hard on them because the offense has been pretty not good this year. But Kyle McCord, when they needed him to, 2-minute drill, he went down the field, scored, won in the game. So congrats to the Buckeyes, and I have no problem with them going up to the number 4 spot. Now, falling, I don't really know if they should have fallen here. They should have fallen basically off of how they performed versus Boston College last week. But Florida State does drop 1 spot. They got a good win versus Clemson. Clemson should have won that game. Clemson had the opportunities to win that game. They did not grasp it, and Florida State took it. So teams will give you chances to take the games, and you have to take it. And Florida State took it. Really good win. I have no problem with them falling 1 spot, though, because the Buckeyes technically had the better win this weekend, and Florida State did not look good last weekend. But they're still positioned very well at number 5. Coming in at number 6, Penn State's finally moving up. They've been stuck at 7 forever. They move up 1 spot into the number 6 position. Penn State beat the crap out of the Iowa Hawkeyes. But you know what? The Hawkeyes are a complete disgrace to football because they refuse to fire Ferentz as the offensive coordinator. And they only had like 70 yards of offense. And that's just pathetic. But Penn State is good on both sides of the ball. Defense, offense. Really strong win versus a top 10 defense. So they move up 1 spot. And I'm perfectly good with that. So the Big Ten, as of right now, has 3 top 6 teams. So they're in a pretty strong position. Now, coming in at 7, finally moving up, we have the Washington Huskies. They did jump 1 spot. Defense looked kind of questionable versus Cal this past weekend, but nonetheless, Penix has to be the Heisman frontrunner, if not number 2. So to me, it's like a Williams, Penix, and Bo Nix mix as of right now. But that guy's thrown for 400 yards every single game. Defense has played well, but kind of questionable this past weekend. But nonetheless, they definitely deserve to move up 1 spot. They've been very consistent this year. Now falling 3 spots. 3 spots. USC Trojans fell down to number 8 from, what were they, number 5 before. So that's probably so the offense looks the same every week. They score 50 to 60 points, so they picked up right where they left off last year. Caleb Williams is having a great season statistically, but the defense versus Arizona State, the last couple of weeks, they've been ticking up, looking really strong, and then they went backwards, and they gave up 28 points to the Sun Devils. So that cost in defense put a lot of people on notice, saying, will they be able to stop the better offenses in the Pac-12 once they get to Oregon, once they get to Washington? So that raised red flags. So I agree with the AP poll here. drop them because they need to prove that they can stop someone decent. They have not even played a decent game, and the defense got torched. So let's just kind of slow the roll, but they're still in a good spot at 8. So no reason to worry if you are a Trojans fan. Coming in at number 9, moving up one spot, the Oregon Ducks. So Oregon was hosting Colorado. They beat the brakes off of Deion Sanders' team, and they move up one spot. So here, the Pac-12 is really starting to show its dominance. That is the deepest conference this year, and 7, 8, 9, 10, all Pac-12 teams. So they are loaded. It's a really tough year, and it's a shame because, like I always say, it's the last year of the Pac-12. But Oregon moved up one spot to 9. I'm perfectly fine with that. Very stacked team. Look good on offense and defense this past weekend when they beat up the Buffaloes. Coming in at number 10, we have Utah. Moved up one spot. Utah has no business being in the top 10. This is not a top 10 team. Let's all slow down. Yes, maybe when Cam Rising comes back, but we need to see how he plays this year if he even comes back, because they keep saying he's coming back this week, and he never shows up. Nate Johnson, this team cannot score 20 points. They have failed to score over like 21 points this whole year. So at some point in the Pac-12, which has the best quarterback play this year, they're going to need to score 40, 50 points. And you can't tell me right now that they would beat any of these top 15 teams. They would get blown out by all of them. So I do not believe that they should be number 10, but they just keep falling into a higher position every single week. Not because they're playing well, but because the teams in front of them lose. So by default, they're now number 10. But to me, they should be number 21. Coming in at number 11, Notre Dame losing in a really well-fought game versus Ohio State. They dropped 2 spots. They're still in it. They're still in the hunt for the playoffs, potentially, but they'll have to beat the Trojans and get back in there. They have no conference games, so they need some things to go their way, but they are still there in a strong position at 4-1. Had they won that game, they'd be looking really strong, but anyways, they lost and they only fell 2 spots, so that's really not that bad. So I'm perfectly fine with them being a position where they are. Coming in at 12, moving up one spot, we have Alabama at 3-1. They had a really bad first half. I don't know what they're doing with Milroe. I think they think he's Tom Brady. He was back there trying to throw passes. He's a running quarterback. Run him. That's his strength. Utilize the game plan towards your quarterback strength. Tommy Rees, wake up. I did not think he was a good hire. The offenses looked like garbage the whole season. They need to tighten up, and they need to run the ball more and utilize the quarterback in the run game. But I'm perfectly fine with them being at number 12 because their only loss is to number 3 Texas. That's a really good loss. Coming in at 13, we have LSU. They dropped 1 spot. They should have dropped a little further to me. They had a really sloppy game versus the Razorbacks. Jay Daniels looks great. They are playing well on offense. Defense, though, looked very questionable, especially because Arkansas had a lot of turnovers. Game should not have been whatever it was, 34-31. But nonetheless, they only dropped 1 spot. So if we are going to move up Utah, why is LSU dropping down? That makes no sense to me. But anyways, nonetheless, I'm fine with them being where they are. Their only loss was to Florida State, but they did get the brakes beat off of them by Florida State. Coming in at 14, we have the Sooners. Sooners won like 20-6 versus Cincinnati. That's a very strong win. The offense has been great all year. Not so much this past weekend, but the defense continues to play at an elite level. It's kind of hard to believe because they were awful last year. But that D-line looks strong. They did upgrade it through the portal, so congratulations to Venables. I do think they are where they should be because they've been playing like a low teenish team. You know, that 12 to 15-ish spot. So that's definitely where they belong to be. And, once they play Texas, that's going to be a really good game. Coming in at 15, we have the Tar Heels. They continue to win, and they're winning without having to use Drake May. That's kind of the surprising thing. I thought, that they would try that. Philip Lindsay would try to mimic Phil Longo's offense the best he could because they had Drake May, and they just don't use him. They just run the ball, and he just kind of sits there. But they keep winning. So as long as they keep winning, they are where they should be. They keep winning the games, and they keep winning them by a pretty decent margin outside of Appalachian State. Do I think they will finish the year here at 15? No. I think they're a number 24, 25 team. But congratulations to them because they win every game that they play so far. Coming in at 16, we have Washington State coming off of a really impressive win versus Oregon State. They did jump up 5 spots. That was a really strong win, and they definitely deserve to jump up 5 spots. So I'm perfectly fine with them being at 16. And Ward is looking like a really solid quarterback. Coming in at 17, we have Duke moving up 1 spot. They continue to move up, but their offense isn't doing anything. They had 322 yards versus UConn, but they keep winning. They are very conservative on offense, but the defense plays well, and they have good special teams, and they get a lot of turnovers. So once they play teams like Miami and stuff like that, they will have to move the ball more. But as of right now, they are where they should be. They have very good wins, and none of their games are close at all. They win 40-7, but very simple game plan so far. Coming in at 18, we have Miami, who beat the brakes off of Temple. They did move up 2 spots. They are positioned where they should be. They started the year unranked, but they keep winning, and this offense is looking really strong. So, good hires by Cristobal there. Defense, nobody can run the ball on Miami so far this year. Will that change? Possibly, but as of right now, both the offense, the defense, and their special teams look legit. So, good job for them, and they should be at number 18. And they have a lot of good games in front of them to potentially be moving up higher, or if they lose, to fall back. Coming in at 19, we have Oregon State dropping 5 spots with their loss to Washington State. DJU did not have a good game. They are a top 25 team. They did win 10 games last year. I think they're in that 20 to 25 range. So they're right around where they should be, maybe just 1 spot, but they shouldn't drop them that far because they did lose to a very talented Washington State team. Coming in at 20, we have Ole Miss dropping 5 spots with their loss versus Alabama. Had their second half not been so awful, they probably wouldn't have fallen 5 spots. It probably just would have been 1 or 2 spots, but they came out flat second half, so they dropped 5 spots. But really, this wasn't a number 15 team. This is a 20 to 25 team. So really, they fell down to where they should have been in the first place, honestly. Coming in at 21, we have Tennessee. This is so stupid. So Tennessee and Florida both have 1 loss. Florida lost to a top 10 team. And why is Tennessee 1 spot in front of Florida? They both have the same record, and Florida beat Tennessee, and Florida's only loss is to a top 10 team. These teams should be swapped, but as we all know, the AP poll is completely stupid and doesn't take common sense into account. But Tennessee, 3-1, they did move up 2 spots. Joe Milton, they're not putting the ball in his hands. They're mostly running the ball. They ran for like 360 yards or something, which that is perfectly fine because you have a 5-star quarterback on the sidelines just waiting for his chance. But Tennessee rebounded from their loss versus Florida. Coming in at 22, we have Florida. They moved up 3 spots. Florida should not have moved up. I don't care if the next 3 teams were not ranked last week. Florida won 22-7 versus Charlotte. They cannot get 400 yards. The offense is awful. They are playing to only get a bowl game this year, to hope to finish 6-6. That's their goal. They're not a top 25 team. I do not think that they will finish the year ranked. They have a really tough schedule, probably the toughest schedule. So the best that they can hope for with their awful offense is a 6-6 year, to me. But they are number 22 right now. I don't believe they should be ranked, but they did beat Tennessee, so that got them into the poll. So that's fine. They're just not going to finish there. Coming in at 23, we have Missouri at 4-0. Welcome to the top 25. They had a really good win 2 weeks ago versus Kansas State. So they should have been ranked last week, but 1 week late. Welcome to the top 25. Coming in at 24, we have Kansas. Kansas State 4-0. Kind of looking like the Kansas team of last year, who started the year really hot. I have no problem with them being 4-0. They've been very impressive so far this year. Coming in at 25, a group of 5 team. Welcome to the top 25, representing the group of 5. Fresno State 4-0, finally ranked here, so congrats to them. And the other ones getting votes, Kansas State 57. That's fine. They had a pretty good win. I think they're 3-1 right now. And Kentucky, with 41 votes. They look pretty decent with Leary at quarterback, Louisville with 32, Colorado with 32, and the Bruins who dropped out at 28. So that's my breakdown of the AP Poll Top 25 for Week 5. Hit that like button and subscribe. Thanks.